This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview. Joining us today is Rolf Gerritsen, the CEO of MetalNRG. Now, Rolf, it's been a little while since we've been speaking. How are you doing?
Hello, Mark. How are you?
Yes, very good. Thank you, Rolf. Looking forward to catching up on events at MNRG. So the first thing I want to put to you is I think investors are probably quite keen for as much clarity as you can provide on the ongoing legal situation between MNRG, Brit NRG, and one of the MNRG former directors. Can you give us an update on the status of events here?
Yeah, look, there's three current legal issues. The first is a claim filed by Rocco in Scotland, in which, in essence, he wants his legal costs covered by us. The sheriff has judged on that, and we won on that particular issue. He's appealed, and the appeal will probably be heard towards the beginning of 2023. He then put forward a claim in the Employment Tribunal, again in Scotland, and he's basically contesting certain service contract elements. And again, that hearing will probably be early 2023. And last but not least is MetalNRG has brought summary judgment against Brit NRG and Brit Energy Holdings LLP, and that summary judgment will be on the 21st and 22nd of September. So looking forward to the outcome there. Myself and the board and our legal team are very confident of the outcomes, and we're convinced that the outcomes will be in MetalNRG's favor. We're robust in our stance, but at the same time, we are open to any constructive and implementable propositions that might come forward.
Okay, well, that was clearly explained. So the first one in September and then early 23 for the other two ongoing things. But it's good to hear that explain the current situation and that the board are indeed feeling confident of a positive outcome for MNRG. So thank you for that. If investors want to discuss this further with you, are you open to that? How can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, we've got shareholders at metalnrg.com that people can contact me and I can take questions on that through that email. I do have to be a little careful how and what I say because of the legal processes, which, as I said, we have to give the courts the opportunity to go through the process, and I am limited in what I can and cannot say. But I think, Mark, what we also need to do here is make sure that we look at MetalNRG not just as an investment and the problems associated currently with Brit NRG. There's a much larger picture that MetalNRG offers. We've got Goldridge. We own 100% of Goldridge. We've got a fantastic business opportunity and business partnership with Ecotech, and the whole green waste to energy, sustainable energy proposition is very, very, very current. And we have a very interesting project in Italy, which is soon to come online. We have some additional further investments, small investments in LVG. Gold in Tanzania, and they're looking at getting the asset into production probably early next year. That's what I've been told by the operators in Tanzania. And we've also got an investment in IMC, which is uranium in Kyrgyzstan. Now, again, Kyrgyzstan has its problems, but if you look at the price of uranium, of where it was when we made the investment and where it is now, it's probably increased about tenfold. So I think my whole proposition to investors is, yes, we've got some issues with Brit NRG, but it's a small portion of our business. So let's look at the big picture and let's look at the overall opportunity which MetalNRG does, in my opinion, offer shareholders.
Okay, well, let's look at that then. And of course, the Goldridge Project has been something we've spoken about before with Bart Stryhouse and yourself. Could you give us an update on this asset and the current status at Goldridge?
Yes. So Goldridge, let me step back a second. We acquired Goldridge, and the first thing we looked at were the waste dumps. Those waste dumps are very much there. There is value in them. Initially, we thought the best way to extrapolate value quickly was to turn those waste dumps into cash. However, SRK looked at the overall picture and looked at the overall asset and said, if you do that, you're going to close the door on yourself to extrapolate further value. For you to extrapolate further value from this asset, you need to understand the geochemistry and the geological structures that bring together the three previously operating gold mines. And no one has really looked at the big picture at Goldridge. So what we're doing at the moment is looking at the geological structures that link the three mines together and see how we can best explore that opportunity. So we're in exploration mode. Having said that, the waste dumps are not going away. They're still there. There's value there. And with Goldridge, we're pursuing the larger exploration program. To be able to do that, we are either looking at a potential partner to come in and earn into the project, or we're looking at taking it forward. There are a number of conversations that are ongoing. And again, Goldridge is a core asset that we're driving forward. And it will take a little bit of time. Yes, these things take time, but the plan is to make sure that we capture the full value of that proposition that the asset holds for us. That's what we're focused on. That's what we're driven towards.
Okay, but what current work is going on? What's the current development status? What could the market look forward to?
As I said, we're looking now at we've done the sampling, the geosampling. The analysis of those are pretty much complete. We're now putting together the plans to start looking at drilling and trenching and things like that. Okay. So those are the next steps, but we're going to need permits and all of these things in place. And at the same time, we're looking at bringing a partner in who can work with us on it. So those are the kind of developments that the market could look forward to.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier about the green economy and, of course, the element of MetalNRG's business. And with the energy crisis that is coming and the green economy that we know is coming down the investment track, let me ask you about the green energy division part of MetalNRG. How is this developing and how do you feel about the potential here?
So how am I feeling about the potential? I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited for a number of reasons. We've got a business partnership with EQTech. EQTech is a technology supplier. So they have the technology and they have the understanding of how the plants need to operate. And they have a very clear process and a very strong technological process. What that means is that they've actually tested a number of inputs, so waste, and they've looked at the best application with regards to their plants. So excitement because of one, the technology partner that we have. Two, in terms of the overall picture, excitement because the world is shifting towards green, and more importantly, we've got a massive energy crisis going out throughout the world. So that's unfortunate, but our positioning is quite attractive with the business partner with EQTech. What have we done with EQTech? Well, we've identified with them a number of projects that we would like to invest in. These projects are what we refer to as shovel ready. So in other words, they are projects that don't have to be built from scratch, but they are projects and plants that are in existence, but that need to be recommissioned because they have been decommissioned for whatever reason. And we have made a first investment in Italy. We own 26% of EQTech Italia. EQTech Italia is a waste to energy plant in Tuscany, and we're taking agricultural waste, wood chips, applying them through the process, And because it was a plant that was previously in commission, we are benefiting from a premium tariff of 2.7 euros per unit, which is well above a number of other projects that we've looked at with EQTech that are also profitable and that are averaging about 1.5, 1.6. So again, we've got a very interesting legacy premium tariff that we will benefit. We're progressing that project. We're looking at getting it commissioned and therefore reestablished on the grid towards autumn of this year, which means it will be producing revenue at that point in time. Okay. Now, step back a second and look at our business model here. What we're trying to do, Mark, is we're basically buying an existing house that needs a lot of care and attention and refurbishment. With EQTech, we're refurbishing it and we're hooking it back on, or we're then going to be looking at selling it. Okay, so we're not going to be the way we make value out of the EQTech proposition is buy something which needs to be refurbished, refurbish it, put it back on the grid, and then you're able to refinance it, sell it, or do a number of things with it. So that model will take a little bit of time. Italy, we're close to getting it back online, which means we will be able to refinance it, which means we will be able to recycle the fund. In terms of other projects that we've identified, there's probably about 10, 15 of them, and we could easily put a substantial amount of money to use. The way we're trying to do that is through debt, and we're working our way through various propositions to be able to drive that whole area forward. But EQTech and the partnership that we have with them is absolutely going to be a critical area for us going forward because of the overall opportunity that it offers.
Okay, and you might actually start to see the first crystallization of that this autumn.
Yes, and the whole reason for the investment in Italy is to use that as a demonstration of how the business model works, and then to be able to expand on it. Yeah. So, by the autumn, will be that particular plant in Italy will be revenue producing, and we will be able to showcase it from a technological perspective, but also from the business point of view, say this is how the model works, and this is how we will roll it out on other projects that we've already identified with EQTech and are pretty much ready to go. Very important, we're not building plants from scratch. We're going in, acquiring an existing plant that for other reasons that are not associated necessarily to the plant itself are not currently commissioned. So they have been commissioned, they've been decommissioned, work needs to be done to refurbish them and recommission them, and then we recommission them.
Okay. Well, it's enough work going on then in the background, isn't there, that hopefully the market will start to see. Before we finish, I must ask you how you're feeling about the share price and the value proposition of MetalNRG. The share price is at an all-time low with a market cap of a little over £1 million. Is this a reflection of the performance of the company, or could you improve the communication here? I mean, how are you feeling about the company from a value point of view, and what are you going to do to improve it?
I think there's a few points on that. First of all, Mark, the first point here is that the general market for micro caps, which we're part of in the resource sectors, has been hit very hard. I look at some of the companies like us, they're down 85, 90%. It's been quite bad. Talking to the brokers, we're seeing a little bit of a pickup in the area, but the volumes are still quite fragile and quite low. So I think there's been a general disengagement from investors in the sector that we operate in, first and foremost. The second thing is, if you look at where we are today, we're definitely at an all-time low, and that's possibly part of investors being concerned with the issues around MetalNRG and what I would refer to some unsubstantiated statements that have been made, which I won't go in detail on, but I think there's a general concern, and that has been too much of a focus where the business is actually much larger. And if you take the assets on a one-to-one basis and you look at them individually, the value is much higher than our current market cap. There's absolutely no question or debate about that. And last but not least, I think if you look at the market picking up, the green energy and energy being such a major issue in the overall content, and us having the plant in Italy that is going to be coming online quite shortly, I think now is the time for investors to look at MetalNRG, because it will offer, in my opinion, it will offer a very substantial upside, because we're at an all-time low for a number of reasons that I've touched on. But I think the opportunity on the upside is quite substantial. The risks are around MetalNRG. As I said, we're extremely confident that we will win the cases, and that the process will work in our favor. It's a matter of time to work through it. But the legal teams are telling me we've got a very strong position. So far, they've proven right. We've won in Scotland. I think there's a general malaise in the market, which we're now beginning to see some initial movement out of it, and then the opportunity for itself. And you look at MetalNRG and you look at where we are and the upside that we offer. If you just look at the assets, I think it's tremendous.
Okay, but can I ask you specifically what you as CEO are going to do to rebuild value here? Ultimately, it's your responsibility.
My focus is very, very clear, and that is step one, and focus point number one is drive the business partnership with EQTech forward, and really start motoring on that side, and demonstrating the proposition that we have, and using that to invest in other green projects that are available to us right now. Two is to make sure we drive forward the whole proposition with Goldridge, and make sure that keeps going forward. And last but not least, looking at opportunities of any type that might make sense. And we're open to conversations that people would be interested in having with us, and we're having a number of conversations, and we'll look at opportunities together.
Okay. Well, Rolf Gerritsen, the CEO of MetalNRG, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.